Hey guys, I've been a challenger player for the last 4 sets, and in this video I'm going to give you my thoughts on how I think you should be playing on the current patch. So the B patch has dropped for over a week now, and the meta has developed in a way where reroll comps are extremely dominant. I think there are a few reasons for this. One reason is that certain hero augments and supers are a bit too strong. A lot of the reroll comps you could play in the current patch are simply an augment check, which means that you could only play towards that reroll comp if you get the right hero augment for it. But that also means that if you do get that hero augment, if you know how to play it, it's almost always a guaranteed top 4. The last point is that because there are so many reroll players, you get rewarded for playing a reroll comp as well because you get to spike at the same time they do, so you don't take infinite damage. And because they're playing reroll comps, they're helping you take out infinite units out of the pool, so you're going to have a higher chance of hitting your 3-star units when you roll. As you can see here, there are a lot of hero augments here that give you a lot of direction in what comp you want to play. For example, YUUMI, Malphite hero augments, you're probably playing reroll mascots. Renekton, Jax, you're probably playing reroll Jax. Fiora, Kale, Yasuo, you're probably playing reroll Duelist. Camille, you're playing reroll Camille. You get the idea. So level 8 comps are still strong if you could get there. But the problem with level 8 comps in the current patch is that if you're playing a fast 8 comp, you're just going to take infinite damage from all the reroll players that spike at level 6 or 7. So a lot of the times, you're better off playing a reroll comp yourself, unless you have a really high roll opener, then you can play towards these comps. So without further ado, let's get right into all the AP and the AD comps of this patch. Alright guys, so first I'm going to talk about reroll YUUMI, probably the most degen reroll comp of the current patch. Basically, it's preferred that you play this comp when you have the right hero augment for it. For example, the YUUMI, Lee Sin, and Nautilus hero augment. This comp is also broken if you get a mascot heart or emblem. Or you don't actually need this. If you get a lot of supers or mascots early, you could play towards it as well, but you must be uncontested. From my personal experience, if you're contesting someone for this comp, you're probably both going to go bot 4. You want 3 tank items on your main tank, whoever you 3-star. This is usually Galio, and for YUUMI, it's going to be blue buff +2. And the game plan for this is you 5 lose into Krugs, slow roll at level 5 above 50 gold, and then right before stage 4-1, because everyone spikes there, you want to all in all of your gold to try to 3-star all of your units, and then push 6 to spike with 4 mascots. So when you're playing this comp, there are going to be a lot of situations where you're going to end up having a completely full bench, and you want to buy a certain unit from your shop, and you don't have room. In that situation, you usually need to make a decision on which unit you want to go for 3-star and which unit you want to give up on. So the unit priority you want to 3-star is going to be all the 1 costs before the 2 costs. This is because for the 1 cost, you only need to invest 9 gold to 3-star the unit to get the extra 5% supers damage buff. So I would say that it's going to be Galio over Nasus over Gangplank. And then for 2 costs, it's going to be YUUMI and then Nautilus and then Lee Sin. You don't need to 3-star all these units. I would say that once you 3-star 4 of them, you could just push level 6 to play 4 mascots and call it a day. In this level 7 board, if you get the mascot emblem, you could just put it on Gangplank and get 6 mascots in and enjoy your free win. If you don't get it, then you would have to rely on hitting the Nunu to hit your 6 mascot power spike. So in the meantime, you can just play 2 random units until you hit level 8 with Nunu. So now I'm going to talk about reroll Lux. You only want to play towards reroll Lux if you get the Lux carry augment, Illuminating Singularity. If you do, the game plan for this is to 5 lose streak into Krugs and then slow roll at level 5 above 50 gold for 3-star Lux, Annie, and Rel. Lux is going to be the main priority, and for your main tank, you could go with either Annie or Rel, just one of them is fine because you need 1 tank to itemize. For itemization, 3 tank items on your main tank, this is usually Annie, and then for Lux, it's going to be Blue Buff, Gunblade, plus JG. This is going to be a really good default positioning for your early and mid game. The reason why is because Lux's AI, she shoots her spell at a random enemy on the enemy team. If you position like this, the enemy team usually clumps up around your Annie, giving your Lux the highest chance of AoEing the entire enemy team. You could take this positioning and go fast 8 after you hit your 3-star Lux, and your board might look something like this. You want to play around 5 Star Guardians and 4 Spellslingers, and then if you get more items later, you could secondary carry your Talia as well. Alright, so next up is going to be reroll EZREAL. You only want to play towards this comp if you get the EZREAL carry augment, Rising Spell Force. So if you do, your game plan is to 5 lose streak into Krugs as usual, and then at stage 3-2 above 50 gold, you want to slow roll at level 6 to try to 3-star your EZREAL, Gangplank, Vi, Lee Sin, and Malphite. So notice how we have Underground in. We actually want to cash out on the first heist every time just to get the extra 10 gold to slow roll above 50 gold to try to hit your 3-stars faster. And then once you hit your 3-star EZREAL and maybe 3-star 3 of your other units, you could then push levels, and then your level 8 board might look something like this. So next up is going to be reroll Jax. You only want to play towards this comp if you get the reroll hero augment for it, which is going to be Jax, Renekton, Lee Sin, Vi, or Blitz. Battle Mage is also really good. You could also play around this comp if you get the Brawler Augment or Emblem. This enables you to play 8 Brawlers at level 8 if you Brawler Emblem your Soraka. So for Jax items, best in slot is going to be Gwynsu's +2 or RFC +2, but in my opinion, best in slot is pretty fake for this comp because Jax is mainly a tempo comp. It relies on you spiking at the correct interval, which is 3-2 or 4-1, and slamming your best items to ensure that you can win streak all the way until stage 5, because you need to econ back up to try to 3-star your Riven and your Jax. So at level 7, you're usually playing around the Soraka. I recommend that you only play around the Soraka if you actually have AP items for her and the admin is actually good. So this Renekton should actually be a Blitzcrank. This will give you admin. So back to my point, if you don't have the AP items for Soraka, you're actually better off dropping the Soraka for another Aegis unit, which will give you extra MR for your entire team. And in such a heavily favored AP meta, the extra magic resist on the HP you get from your brawlers is actually going to be pretty significant. So in a situation where you're playing Jax and you're contested by 1 or 2 other players, you want to see how close they are to hitting the Jax, and if they're way closer to you than you are, you actually just want to play for top 4 and push levels, play around 2-star Jax, Riven, take your top 4 and get the fuck out. Your 2+1s are just going to be whatever your 2-star, in this case Echo and Leona, and then just hope you don't bleed out. So next up is going to be Reroll Yasuo. You only want to play towards Reroll Yasuo if you get the Yasuo carry augment for him, which gives him 66% Omnivamp, and if you do, you just want to play your strongest board until stage 3-2. You level to 6, and then you slow roll above 50 gold to try to 3-star all of your units. So in this case, you want to 3-star your Gangplank, Yasuo, Malphite, Fiora, Lee Sin, and Vayne. And you want to play around 3 supers and 4 duelists. The other variation to this is playing around vertical duelists instead. So in this case, you're going to be playing around your Zed and your Nyla, and you want to 3-star your Nyla. In this variation, because it lacks a lot more frontline, you want lockets on your Nyla because duelists need the extra tankiness to ramp up their attack speed. So best in slot Yasuo is going to be Titans, Jewel Gauntlet. Please don't build a Bloodthirster if you already have the Yasuo carry augment. The reason for this is because Yasuo already has 66% Omnivamp. You would actually get more Omnivamp from a Death Cap than a Bloodthirster simply from doing more damage. Again, you just want to secondary carry your Vayne. You just put all your leftover AD items on her, doesn't matter which one. And then once you 3-star all of your units, you just push levels and go 8. Next up is going to be reroll threats. Reroll threats are really augment dependent. So for example, if you get the Cho'Gath or Rammus hero augment, that's a pretty good sign that you should play this comp. Threat level maximum, loaded dice, and Triforce are also extremely good. They spike your threat board really hard. You basically just want to play your strongest board until level 6. And then at level 6, you want to slow roll above 50 gold for a board like this. You want to 3-star your Rammus, Cho'Gath, and Vel'Koz. Rammus is the most important threat unit, so ideally you want to put all your tank items on your Rammus, but if you end up 3-starring your Cho'Gath and not your Rammus, you can put your tank items on your Cho'Gath instead. So for your 3-cost carry, you actually don't want to itemize your Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz is just a utility unit that stuns their carry forever. You actually want to itemize someone like Kai'Sa or Vayne. So if you itemize Kai'Sa, some really good items for her are Shiv, JG, Shojin. Vayne is really good with triple AD and attack speed items. And then at level 7, you just throw an Echo for 3-star Guardian. So another variation is playing around the Zoe instead. In this case, you just want to 3-star your Zoe. Here, you want to put Blue Buff, Morello, and JG on her. And the final variation is where you play around Sure Shot instead, where you 3-star your Senna. So alternatively, if you aren't close to any 3-star units, you could also just play around a full threat board. So for example, this is a variation of a full threat board, and instead, once you hit your 3-star Cho'Gath, Vel'Koz, and Rammus, you could just push levels and then put in every single purple unit you find, and you should be able to top 4. So finally for AP, I'm going to talk a bit about AP Flex. So for AP, a lot of the times you have to roll down at level 7 or 8, depending on how strong the lobby is. If you have to roll down at level 7, this is a pretty strong board you could go for. And then if you happen to get a lot of Annies, LeBlancs, or Zoes, you could try to slow roll at level 7 above 50 gold to try to 3-star them. Depending on who you 3-star, you want to itemize the designated carry and all your tank items on your Annie. So if you don't go the reroll approach, you just roll down for 2-star everything and then push level 8 and slowly transition your board into one of these boards. So the first variation is going to be playing around the Soraka. For Soraka, it's going to be blue buff, JG. So items for Soraka is just going to be blue buff, JG, and GS. And your board might look something like this at level 8. Another variation you could play at level 8 is playing around Talia instead with 4 Spellslingers. If you're only playing around 3-star Guardians with Talia, she usually wants a mana item like Shojin or Blue Buff, otherwise she's not going to cast enough. Talia really likes Guardbreaker plus 1 extra damage item. This could be Death Cap or JG. The other variation to Talia is playing around 5-star Guardians instead. So for example, this is the 5-star Guardian board. In this case, because you have 5-star Guardians, you actually don't need the Shojin on Talia because she already gets so much mana. You could just go triple damage item on her and she'll one-shot everything on the enemy team. Alright, so now let's start looking into the AD comps. The first AD comp is going to be Reroll Ashe. You only want to play Reroll Ashe if you get Corpse Focus. That's the hero augment for Ashe. And the game plan for this is to just 5 loose streak into Krugs, and then at level 5 above 50 gold, you want to slow roll to try to 3-star all of your units. Best in slot Ashe will be Last Whisper, Runaan's, and Giant Slayer. All your leftover tank items on your Renekton, and if you don't 3-star your Renekton, just put it on any other 3-star tank unit. And then for Gangplank, he really likes Thieves' Gloves. So right before stage 4-1, you want to roll down to 0 to try to 3-star the rest of your board, and then push 6 to put in Yasuo. Your board will then look something like this. And then afterwards, you should be winning every single round, and you just want to push levels. Your level 8 board will just look something like this. You just throw in an Echo and an Alistar. So for this comp, it's not really a win-out comp, but it's a solid top 4 comp if you know how to play this comp and you get the augment for it. So next in line is going to be Reroll Camille. You want to play towards Reroll Camille if you get either of the Camille hero augments, Hextech Retribution, or Adaptive Defenses. Best in slot Camille is going to be BT, Titans, and IE. And game plan for this is to just play your strongest board until stage 3-2 and slow roll above 50 gold until you hit 3-star Camille. Camille is the only unit that matters because she could go infinite with these items. Right before stage 4-1, you usually want to all in to try to hit your 3-star Camille and then push level 8. And then at level 8, your board might look something like this. You usually drop the talent for your Viego. And then you try to get your Leona in over your Sylas because she's also a Renegade. So for this comp, if you happen to get the admin spat, you probably put the admin spat on your Viego and then play a Blitzcrank. This will give you 4 admin, and that will give you a very strong buff for your Viego and your Camille. Alright, next up is going to be Reroll Draven. You only want to play towards Reroll Draven if you get the hero augment League of Draven. This is the one that gives Draven the ability to farm 1 gold after every unit he kills. The idea is that this extra gold will allow you to 3-star your entire board because you're also playing around supers. So game plan for this is if you get this augment, you just play your strongest board until stage 32, slow roll above 50 gold at level 6, and try to 3-star your entire board. You might have to all in right at stage 4-1 because that's where everyone spikes. But eventually, once you 3-star your entire board, your level 8 board, you just want to throw in the rest of the mech units and you're playing around 5 mech. Best in slot Draven is going to be IE GS +1. The third item could be a healing item. It could be BT, it could be Hodge as well. And you want to itemize your main tank. Usually it's going to be Malphite. This is not going to be a comp that allows you to win first place, but if you know how to play it, it's a pretty easy top 4. So now I'm going to talk about Reroll Double Trouble. The moment you get Double Trouble 2 or 3, you probably want to look towards playing around Vayne, Kai'Sa, and Nilah because this is probably the strongest variation around that augment. Game plan for this is to just play your strongest board until level 7 and then slow roll above 50 gold to try to 3-star your Kai'Sa, Vayne, and Nilah. Tank items go on Nilah, and then depending on who you're closer to 3-starring, your Kai'Sa or your Vayne, you want to itemize that particular unit. So for example, if you're close to Vayne but not Kai'Sa, you probably want to go for attack speed and AD items off Carousel. And if you're close to Kai'Sa, you want to go for AP and attack speed. This is going to be your default level 7 board. You're playing 2 copies of each, and your last unit will just be an Echo. Next up is going to be the AD variant of Reroll Duelist. You want to play towards this comp if you get Vitality of the Ox, Righteous Range, or Divine Ascent. One note is that if you're playing around Divine Ascent, you want to play around your 3-star Kayle and itemize her instead. And because you want 3-star Kayle, you want to slow roll at level 5 instead of level 7. But in this case, because we're playing around Nilah and Vayne instead, we actually want to slow roll at level 7 above 50 gold for 3-star Vayne and Nilah. One really important item for this comp is going to be Locket on your Nilah. This is because the main weakness of duelists is that they lack frontline, and duelists need a bit of time to ramp up before they could scale. So the Locket really helps with that. For Vayne items, you just want your standard attack speed and AD items. Doesn't matter what you get, just slam them on her and you're good. And then Zed could just be your secondary carry. The other variation to this is if you get a duelist emblem or spat. In that case, you could probably consider playing around Kai'Sa instead. Kai'Sa really likes attack speed and AP items. So for example, in this case, she likes Duelist Spat, Giant Slayer, and Jewel Gauntlet. So if you were playing Reroll Duelist and you weren't close to hitting at all, or you were being contested, another option that you could play into is play a level 8 board revolving around Vayne and Zed duo carry. This is a pretty good top 4 comp just because a lot of people aren't going to expect a Zed jumping into their backline and assassinating their carry. Again, best in slot Zed is going to be GA, Last Whisper, and Runaan's, and you just want to put all your leftover AD items on your Vayne as a secondary carry, and then you put all your tank items on either your Sejuani or your Echo. So the last AD comp is going to be Samira. Samira is a level 8 AD comp and probably has the highest cap board in that game simply because she has access to almost every single legendary unit like Aphelios, Leona, Fiddlesticks, Nunu, Janna. The problem with Samira is it's actually pretty hard to get to this point just because how fast reroll comps spike at level 6 or 7. But if you do manage to get here, you could play for the win out. Samira really likes GS, Last Whisper, and IE. GS is really strong in the current meta just because of how many reroll comps and bruisers there are. Alternatively, if you get a sure shot spat or emblem, You can play around 4 sure shot instead. So in this case, your board might look something like this. You play Senna for another sure shot, and you just sure shot emblem your Urgots. So this sums up my updated 12.23b reroll flex guide. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel or follow me on Twitch. If the meta updates once again, I will again release another flex guide just so you guys can be up to date. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm going to see you guys next time.